When my mom sent me a bill for $18,620.34, I didn't cry. I wrote her a check. Because sometimes paying the debt isn't surrender, it's the final act of freedom. After my C-section, I remember whispering, "Can someone please hold the baby? Just for a bit. I need to rest." Hours passed. Nobody came. By the next morning, while I was still weak, still bleeding, my mom posted a smiling family photo with the caption, "Best family vacation ever." 6 weeks later, I was scrolling through my phone, still half healing, when it suddenly lit up, 88 missed calls. And at the top, a message from my sister, "We need $5,000 now." I looked down at my newborn, his tiny chest rising and falling against mine, and I texted back. I never expected to have a C-section. I thought I'd push him out like everyone else, that I'd have that movie moment, sweaty but smiling, baby in my arms. Instead, after 17 hours of contractions and no progress, the doctor walked in with that calm, practiced voice that somehow made everything worse. "We need to go to surgery." I was too exhausted to argue. The operating room felt like a refrigerator, bright, sterile, humming with machines. They strapped down my arms, and I remember this pressure in my chest like someone was standing on it. Then came a cry. My son's first sound. I couldn't even move to see him. They brought him close for a heartbeat. I kissed his cheek, then he was gone, and the stitching began. When I woke up in recovery, everything was heavy, my limbs, my head, even my thoughts. A nurse smiled, placed him on my chest, said something cheerful I barely heard. "Can someone hold him for me? Just for a little while?" I whispered. She glanced around. "Let me check if your family's here." But I already knew the answer. The only person there was Brandon. My ex. The man I hadn't spoken to properly since our breakup 3 months earlier, after everything between us had fallen apart. And yet, somehow, he was the one standing beside me, holding the baby, changing diapers, keeping an eye on the monitors like his life depended on it. I remember drifting in and out of sleep, watching him through the haze of medication and pain. I kept thinking, of all people, him? The next morning, between nurse check-ins and pain meds, I checked my phone. No texts. No calls. I opened Facebook, muscle memory, I guess, and there it was. A photo of my family at the beach. My mom, my sister, my stepdad. Matching clothes, fruity drinks, smiling like nothing in the world could touch them. Posted at 10:03 p.m. The same night I was being cut open to bring a new life into this world. They knew. They knew the date, the hospital, everything. And they still left. I didn't cry. I just stared until the screen dimmed. Brandon came back in with a cup of coffee. He didn't mention the photo. Neither did I. He just held the baby, told me to rest, and for the first time in a long while, I didn't argue. When the nurses asked if I'd have help at home, I smiled and said yes. I lied. 6 weeks passed. I was still bleeding, still sore, still pretending I was fine while juggling work calls with one hand and holding my son with the other. I hadn't had a full night's sleep in forever. Then one morning, I left my phone on the counter for an hour. When I picked it up, 88 missed calls. Mom. Sister. Unknown numbers. And that one message from my sister, "We need $5,000 now. Please." No explanation. No, "How are you?" Just the usual, like I was some kind of emergency ATM with a pulse. I looked at my baby's face and texted back, "I'll see what I can do." At the time, I told myself maybe they'd just forgotten. Maybe I was overreacting. But deep down, I knew this was the start of something different. Something shifting. A week passed. I never sent the money. The message just sat there, cold, sour, like bad milk. They always did this. Wrapped their selfishness in fake urgency. "We need this, it's an emergency, you're our only hope." Not out of love, but convenience. Because I was useful. I'd paid my sister's rent. Covered mom's dental bill. Replaced my stepdad's phone after he dropped it in a lake. Helped refinance a car loan. And through it all, not once, did anyone ask how I was managing, especially while pregnant and drowning in bills. But that morning, with my son asleep on my chest and my incision burning like fire, something in me just broke. I texted back, "I can't help right now. Maybe in a week or two. Things are tight." It wasn't true. I had the money. I just didn't have anything left to give. Brandon was in the kitchen washing bottles. I said quietly, "They want $5,000. He didn't even look up. Of course they do. He hadn't left since the hospital, no drama, no big talk, just stayed. He bought groceries, folded laundry, woke up for feedings I couldn't handle. We didn't talk about what we were. Maybe broken, maybe rebuilding. But he was there. Meanwhile, the messages kept coming. "How's the baby? Any chance you can send it today? Your sister's freaking out." We wouldn't ask if it wasn't serious. That last line made me laugh out loud. They'd asked for money over concert tickets, spa deposits, credit card debt. But sure, now it was serious. That week, I focused on healing, on the baby, on learning how to breathe again. Brandon helped more than I ever expected. He wasn't perfect, but he was present, and that mattered more than anything. Then my mom's tone changed. "I feel like we've grown apart. We didn't mean to miss the birth. We thought you had Brandon. Things were complicated. You know we love you." No apology. No acknowledgement of what she did. Just a soft rewrite of the past, like abandoning your daughter in a hospital was just a scheduling conflict. Funny how they didn't want to intrude on the birth of their grandson, but had no issue flooding my inbox when they needed cash. I told Brandon I was done. I was going to start saying no, actually saying it. He looked at me, smiled a little, and said, "Finally." That night, I scrolled through my sister's messages and pressed block. The notification popped up, "You've blocked this contact." I stared at it for a moment. It didn't feel cruel. It felt clean. The next morning, I muted every family group chat and dragged them into a folder I called Archive. I didn't delete them, not yet. Just far enough that they couldn't haunt me anymore. Then I opened my laptop, pulled up my bank statements, started listing every expense I'd been paying for them, the subscriptions, the phone plans, even a car insurance payment I'd forgotten about. One by one, I wrote them down. Because this time, my revenge wasn't going to be loud. It was going to be quiet, calculated, and long overdue. It started small. No fireworks, no grand announcement, just a quiet shift. One night, while rocking my son to sleep, I opened my laptop and canceled the Netflix account still logged into my mom's living room TV. Then Hulu. Then Spotify. One by one, gone, silent little disappearances into digital dust. 2 days later, my phone buzzed. A text from an unfamiliar number. "Hey, did Netflix get hacked or something? It logged us out." It was my sister. I stared at the message for a moment, then blocked the number. 10 minutes later, another text came from a different one. "Come on, just let me know if I need to reset the password. We're trying to watch something." I didn't reply. Then came the voicemail from my mom. "Hey, sweetheart. Just checking in. Your sister's been really upset. And your stepdad says the insurance bounced. Did your card expire? Let me know. Okay. Love you." Her voice was syrupy sweet, fake in that way you can only hear when you've finally woken up to it. The kind of sweetness that sticks to your teeth. I didn't call back. Brandon was the one who noticed first. "You're quieter lately," he said, while sterilizing bottles at the sink. I just nodded, because something inside me had gone quiet, but not in a bad way. For the first time in my life, I wasn't reacting. I was thinking. Understanding. Seeing the pattern that had always been there. All my life, I'd been the responsible one. The fixer. The wallet. And worst of all, the afterthought. My sister was always the sun in our family, and I was expected to orbit around her. When she failed a test, Mom blamed the teacher. When I got straight A's, it was just what we expect from you. When she threw tantrums, she was spirited. When I said no, I was cold. When I got pregnant, Mom cried, not out of joy, but because this might ruin your career. But when my sister flunked out of college, for the second time, they flew her to Miami for a reset weekend. It had always been like that. But I was done. One night, Brandon saw the spreadsheet open on my laptop, a list of everything I'd been paying for. Subscriptions, bills, accounts, names. He looked at me and said, "Need help?" I handed him the laptop. By the end of the week, the cable was disconnected. The extra phone line, gone. The car insurance they'd never thanked me for, canceled. That's when the panic started. The voicemail stopped pretending to be polite. "Emily, what the hell is going on? Your stepdad just got pulled over, the insurance was canceled. Are you serious right now?" Then my sister again, from yet another new number. "This is next level petty. Grow up. You know we need this stuff. It's not about the money, it's about family." Family. That word made me laugh out loud. Family didn't forget the day you gave birth. Family didn't post vacation selfies while you were lying in a hospital bed, shaking and bleeding and holding your baby alone. Family showed up. And they didn't. Brandon came home one evening with groceries, saw me deleting another voicemail. "You know you don't have to listen to any of that anymore, right?" he said. I nodded. But I did listen. Not because I cared, but because I wanted to remember. To hear, in their own voices, just how quickly they turned on me the second I stopped being useful. A week later, there was a knock at the door. I froze. Brandon peeked through the curtain, and sighed. My mom. She was standing there like nothing was wrong, clutching a cheap stuffed animal. The kind of meaningless gesture people use when they want forgiveness without accountability. Brandon opened the door just enough to talk. "Hi, Mrs. H." She smiled tightly. "Is Emily home?" He didn't move. "Yeah. But she doesn't want to see you." She tried to push past him. He didn't budge. Through the doorway, she called out, "Emily, stop being dramatic. We just needed help. We've always been there for you." Brandon turned toward me, eyes asking if I wanted to say anything. I didn't. Eventually, she left. That night, he sat on the edge of the bed, rocking our son until his eyelids fluttered shut. "You know," he said softly, "this could be your life. Just us. No more of their noise." And for the first time in months, I actually let myself imagine it. 3 days later, a certified letter showed up. At first, I thought it was from the hospital, maybe something about billing or insurance. I tore it open while standing at the kitchen sink. The baby was crying in the next room, Brandon humming to soothe him. Inside were 2 typed pages. Itemized. Double-spaced. At the top, it said, "What we've done for you over the years." I wish I was joking. She had listed everything. Rent from when I lived at home after college. Groceries I ate while staying there. A prom dress from 2009. $80 from some camping trip I barely remembered. The total? $18,620.34. She even included the cents. Taped to the back was a handwritten note. "Emily, this isn't an attack. It's just to remind you that family is about give and take. We helped you. Now we need help. It's time to give back." I just stood there, letter trembling in my hands. I had carried a human being out of my body. Healed alone. Paid their bills for years without keeping score. And now, they were sending me an invoice for existing. I walked into the living room and handed the letter to Brandon. He read it silently, folded it once, and said, "So, they're billing you for being born now." I wanted to laugh. I really did. But I couldn't. My stomach twisted. My hand shook. It wasn't about the money, it was about what it meant. They didn't see me as a daughter. Just a resource. A debit line they could tap until I ran dry. Brandon set the letter on the coffee table and asked quietly, "So what now?" I didn't answer. Not yet. Instead, I picked up my phone. For the first time in months, I opened Facebook. I posted a photo, no filters, no perfect lighting. Just me and my baby. I was in pajamas. Hair a mess. Brandon in the background holding a bottle. The caption was simple. No visitors. No help. No support. Just us. And we're finally okay. And for the first time in years? I actually meant it. I didn't name names. Didn't tag anyone. Just posted a photo, me, the baby, and a caption that said exactly what I needed it to. No visitors. No help. No support. Just us. And we're finally okay. But people knew. The comments started rolling in. Old classmates. Co-workers. Even my former boss. Proud of you. This is what strength looks like. So happy you're surrounded by love now. And for the first time, the praise didn't feel hollow. It felt earned. Then my cousin Sarah messaged me privately. "Emily, just so you know, your mom's freaking out. She's calling people, saying you're unstable. That Brandon's taken over your life. That you're keeping the baby away out of spite." That was it. The exact moment something inside me snapped clean in half. I hit record and sent Sarah a voice message. My tone was calm, too calm. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just told the truth. That my family was sipping cocktails in matching shirts while I was being cut open on an operating table. That they only remembered I existed when they needed money. That they didn't see me as a daughter or a sister, just a wallet. 5 minutes later, Sarah replied. "I believe you. I've seen how they treat you. You're not crazy. You're just done playing the part they gave you." And for the first time, someone in the family actually saw me. That night, as if the universe wanted to twist the knife just a little deeper, something unexpected happened. Brandon proposed. No ring. No candlelight. No grand speech. It was 9:30 p.m. The baby had finally fallen asleep after an hour of screaming. I was drinking cold tea I'd reheated 3 times, wearing an old t-shirt with spit up on the collar. He looked over from the couch, dark circles under his eyes, and said quietly, "Let's do this. Let's raise him together. Really do it. Not because we have to, but because I want to. I don't want to leave." I didn't cry. I didn't overthink it. I just said, yes. Because he'd been there when no one else was. The next morning, I sat at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee that had already gone cold and opened my mom's invoice. 2 pages. $18,620.34. I took out my checkbook. It took me 10 minutes to write the check. I slipped it into an envelope with a note that said, "Paid. Now, don't ask me for another thing." Then I sealed it. Dropped it in the mailbox. And for the first time since giving birth, I exhaled. But I knew my family, silence was never the end. It was the inhale before the next explosion. Sure enough, 2 days later, the check cleared. I watched the amount vanish from my account like I was paying off a credit card instead of buying my freedom. Brandon asked if I regretted it. I told him no, because I wanted what came next. And I didn't have to wait long. 3 days later, my phone rang. Blocked number. I answered, out of curiosity, not kindness. My mom's voice, sharp and shaking. "So that's it? You're cutting us off now? After everything we've done for you?" I said nothing. She went on and on, about how Brandon was brainwashing me, how I was turning the baby against the family. When she called me emotionally abusive for not letting them visit, I hung up. An hour later, my sister called Brandon. I didn't even know she had his number. He let it go to voicemail, then pressed play on speaker while we sat feeding the baby. "Tell Emily this is pathetic. She's burning bridges. And for what? You think she's gonna raise that kid without us? You're not even married. You think this is a real family?" Brandon didn't flinch. He just reached across the table and squeezed my hand. But that voicemail, it stuck with me. Not because it hurt, but because it was proof. Proof that in their minds, nothing I built could be real without them. To them, Brandon wasn't a real father. I wasn't a real mother. Our family wasn't a family unless they were the center of it. So I started documenting everything. Every text. Every voicemail. Every apology that ended with another demand. Every passive-aggressive Facebook post. Then I turned my attention to cutting the final threads. I called my phone carrier, removed every extra line. Called the insurance company, new payment info, just for me. Changed every password. Closed every joint account. Anything with my name tied to theirs, gone. They noticed. Oh, they noticed. A week later, my mom posted a long, vague rant on Facebook. It's sad when people you raise turn their backs on you. Especially when they forget who fed them, clothed them, and picked them up when no one else would. It got a dozen likes. 1 heart emoji from my aunt. And my sister's comment, exactly. I didn't say a word. Friends messaged me, asking if I wanted them to report it. I said, no. Let them scream into the void. Because behind the scenes, my life was finally coming together. Brandon had started freelancing again. We took turns with the baby, passing him back and forth like an anchor between us. We were tired, broke, and figuring it out day by day. But it was ours. The noise was gone. One night, I walked past the nursery and saw Brandon asleep on the floor, one hand resting on our son's tiny leg, like he was keeping him tethered to the earth. And standing there in the soft glow of the nightlight, I realized something. I hadn't thought of him as my ex in weeks. He was just Brandon. The last voicemail came on a Tuesday. My mom's voice was calm, too calm. Cold, slow, calculated. This is your last chance. We're family. And if you think you can erase us from your life without consequences, you're wrong. I didn't listen twice. Didn't analyze the tone or replay it to see if she sounded sad or angry. I just hit delete. Then I blocked the number. And for the first time since the day I gave birth, my phone was silent. Not empty. Just peaceful. Like the storm had finally burned itself out. It's strange how quiet life gets when you stop letting the wrong people fill it. There was no dramatic showdown. No screaming match in the driveway. No tearful "let's talk" moment. Just quiet. After months of manipulation, guilt, and chaos, I blocked the final number, archived the last email, and shut down every financial tie still linking me to them. And nothing happened. No explosion. No collapse. The world didn't end. It got better. I started waking up without that pit in my stomach, the dread that came from checking my phone first thing every morning. No missed calls. No passive-aggressive texts. No new urgent crisis that somehow only I could fix. Just quiet mornings. Coffee that stayed hot. A baby who smiled when he saw me. Brandon and I found our rhythm. It wasn't perfect, not even close. We still argued. There were nights when the baby refused to sleep unless one of us stood swaying him for an hour, whispering nonsense into the dark. But we were learning. Together. He never moved out. And I never asked him to. At some point, the question just stopped existing. He was home. He started leaving little notes around the house. A reminder for bottle times. A doodle of a bottle with "you got this" scrawled beside it. A grocery list that ended with "and pick up something for yourself this time." He wasn't trying to fix me. He didn't want to rescue me. He just stayed. And after everything I'd survived, that was enough. That was everything. One afternoon, when the baby finally went down for a nap and we were sitting there with coffee that was actually hot for once, I asked him something. "Do you remember that fight we had? 3 months before the birth. When you left?" He nodded, eyes soft. "Why'd you come back?" I asked. He thought for a moment, then said, "Because I realized I didn't want to miss anything. Not the good, not the hard. And because you were the strongest person I'd ever met, and I was tired of pretending that didn't matter." I didn't respond right away. Just stared at him, trying to memorize that moment, the calm, the honesty, the way it felt to finally be seen without being used. I never spoke to my family again. Not after the Facebook rants. Not after the threats. Not even after they tried to show up at our apartment, only to find the building had changed the entry codes. They faded out slowly. Like background noise you stop noticing until one day you realize it's completely gone. No more voicemails. No more guilt. No more emergencies. Once the money stopped, so did the urgency. My sister moved on to her next disaster. My mom found someone else to guilt trip. Every now and then, a cousin would message me, saying, "Your name doesn't come up much anymore." And I'd smile. Because that meant I was finally free. But I knew the truth. I knew exactly what had happened. I became a mother. And for the first time in my life, I stopped asking for permission to live. I chose the man who showed up, not the people who disappeared. I built a home from the pieces they swore were worthless. And I never sent another dollar. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that hospital room. About the moment I whispered, "Can someone hold the baby so I can rest?" And the silence that followed. No one came. No one cared. Except Brandon. Now, every night when I walk past the nursery, I see him brushing his teeth, cleaning up the bottles, or lying on the floor making our son laugh until he hiccups. And I think, they were wrong. This messy, ordinary, beautiful life, this is a real family. Maybe not the one I was born into, but the one I built. The one I chose. And it's enough. It's more than enough. It's everything.